Hello everyone, my name is Bekbayeva Aziza, and today I'm glad to introduce my research paper on the topic of the role of extensive reading as a language learning tool in EFL context. This is my content. First, I will introduce the purpose of this study, its significance and research questions. Later, I will summarize some previous works done on similar topics in the literature review part. Then I will state the research design, participants and settings, data collection and analysis, results, limitations and further directions, and conclusion. The purpose of this study is to identify the degree of integration of extensive reading in EFL classes, define the TFL junior students' attitudes towards extensive reading as a language learning tool, and analyze the correlation between these two variables. The significance of this study is to define the role of extensive reading as teaching and learning tool in Kazakhstani context and to analyze the degree of the relation between the teacher's acts on implementing it and students' perceptions. These are my research questions. First question, to what extent the extensive reading is integrated in EFL classes? Second, what are the attitudes of TFL junior students regarding extensive reading as a language learning tool? Third question, how students' attitudes towards extensive reading change according to the level of its integration in EFL classes. Now, in literature review, I want to introduce you with the definition of extensive reading according to Davis. Extensive reading is to read pleasurably without the pressures of testing or marks. Summarizing the previous findings, the role of extensive reading in EFL acquisition is proved to be very important and advantageous, and its implementation turns to be profound. It is beneficial in terms of teaching and learning reading, as well as in terms of gaining new vocabulary and improvement of reading fluency, speaking and writing abilities. Talking about my research design. First of all, it is non-experimental, and due to the fact that my research questions differ in nature, like first two questions have descriptive nature and the third one is referred to causal nature, a mixed design was chosen. First one to be used is a cross-sectional survey design. It is used when the researcher wants to gather information about the perceptions, attitudes, opinions, or beliefs of the participants. And the second one is the explanatory design type of correlational research designs. This one is used when the correlation between two or more variables is sought. Participants and settings. Third-year students of two foreign languages department of Süleyman Demirel University were involved in this study. This certain department was chosen deliberately as its students had major foreign language course where extensive reading could be implemented. Initially, the data collection process was intended to take place within the university walls under my direct guidance. However, due to this pandemic situation, it turned out to be impossible to have this kind of interaction with live interaction with participants. This process had to shift to online format, and my participants were gently asked to fill the online questionnaire form. The data collection and analysis. With regards to previously chosen research designs, the quantitative research track was chosen. And in this study, I was attempted to gather only numerical data. Therefore, as a tool, I chose an online questionnaire created in Google Forms with closed-ended items only. The questionnaire itself was divided in two sections. First section is devoted to examine the degree of integration of extensive reading, as the second question was devoted to finding out the attitudes and perceptions of the students. The hyperlink of this electronic questionnaire was sent to the participants directly via WhatsApp Messenger, and the purpose of the study and short description with further instructions were indicated in the beginning of the form, as well as the content letter. Content letter was attached to the message, and it presents all rights of participants. And also, in order to analyze the data, I used Microsoft Excel program to find out the mean value, and I used SPSS program to find out the correlational coefficient. With the concern to results, as I already mentioned, exclusively numerical data were gathered, and findings regarding the first research question have shown that the most of the participants view the level of integration of extensive reading in their classes as moderate. And while identifying the TFL junior students' attitudes towards extensive reading as a language learning tool, The positive results was achieved as the majority of participants were highly motivated to learn and most importantly to teach English with this procedure. And according to the results obtained through the calculation of correlational coefficient, it is possible to conclude that the extent of realization of extensive reading has no or has very little positive relation to what students actually think about the procedure. Well, talking about the limitations of my study. First and the biggest limitation of my study is the scope of collected data. It is very narrow as the number of participants is very low. And also I used only closed-ended items. It can be a drawback because it prevents the deeper investigation of the questions. Also, the questionnaire happened to be conducted at distance. It prevented me from being there and from observing and guiding the students, as some participants might could misunderstand the question or they didn't put required attention to the questions. And talking about further directions to the research, to the investigation, like the same research purpose and the same research questions can be possessed, but this time broader in scope and using several data collection tools. Also, it can be conducted as an experimental research. And my own research, this study has shown that extensive reading has undeniable benefits in English language acquisition. Therefore, some research or some work can be done on the popularization of extensive reading procedure, as well as the further investigation of factors which really influence on students' attitudes and thoughts, because my results has shown that there is really low connection between the level of integration and students' attitudes towards the procedure. Well, as a conclusion, I want to say that I'm really into this topic and I'm really enthusiastic about extensive reading itself, as it can be a great alternative to intensive reading or translation technique. And I'm kind of upset because my study has shown that it is implemented only on a moderate level here in Kazakhstan, and I want it to be more popular. On the other hand, my study also has shown that the students are very motivated to use it and to learn English by this technique. Therefore, I want to continue my work on popularization of extensive reading. Well, by now, I want to thank you for the attention. Goodbye.